we face up to the absolute necessity of instituting universal charges for water. Whoa, you say, isn't that a little bit of an exaggeration? Is that too radical? Well, I don't think so. And the reason is that the economics of using water in Florida, especially North Florida, are governed by two unmerciful and inexorable laws. The first of these is Jevons Paradox, which says that attempts at improving the efficiency of using a resource almost invariably lead to greater overall consumption. That's why it's called a paradox. We want to be more efficient to use less. Actually, total consumption increases. Put it in simple terms, there's simply no way that we're going to become more efficient to overcome the increased demand by the burgeoning Florida population. Secondly, is the tragedy of the commons, which says that, which guarantees a bad end to the free use of any necessary common resource. Now, most of you probably pay for your water, but you've got to realize that agriculture, industry, mining, and rural residents don't. It's all free and subject to the common. In Jacksonville industrialist Preston Haskell saw these problems, and he saw the demise of industry in Florida. And he says, we're headed for a brick wall, to which I would add, and our brakes are failing. So then, is the situation hopeless? Well, no, not necessarily. Because those of you who are familiar with economic theory and so forth know that these fatal trends can be defeated by the institution of economic mechanisms, primarily costing and pricing. We know, for example, when JBA instituted charges for the water, that the per capita use of water went down precipitously. But this has to be universal, no loopholes. How can fees be implemented on a universal basis? Okay. First of all, before any practical measures can be initiated, we have to lay the legal basis for these changes. That is, it must be unequivocally acknowledged that the water in the Florida belongs to all the citizens. It is a public trust. I understand we have some people from Barry University who are really on this task already. Okay, next, we must estimate how much water can be pumped from various regions of the Floridan without damaging the aquifer. In other words, we've got to put a cap on each district as to how much we can take out. Now, obviously, this is going to be a difficult task. But, as our friend here, Dr. Robert Palmer, once said, if we can estimate the maximum sustainable harvest of bears, we surely can do it for a vital process like water. Next, knowing our limits on pumping, we now need to ascertain how much is actually being consumed. And this means universal metering. Now, 10 years ago, this would just be an impossible task. But improvements in technology with ultrasound and data recording and reporting and so forth bring this into the economic realm and make it a lot easier to amass data on each of the users. Okay, and then when all these measures are in place, we can then estimate a tiered schedule of fees for all classes of users. And then over the subsequent few years, we can iterate this until we meet our goals. And keep the tax as low as possible. Well, isn't this a new tax? Well, not necessarily. We now pay an ad valorem tax to support the water management districts. We can just move this over. I want to stress the urgency. There is no alternative. We're already pumping salt from numerous mills near the coast, and eventually we're going to be pulling salt up from the salt that's right below our feet right now. And once the well goes salty, it's almost irreversible. It's going to take decades, if not centuries, before fresh water is repleted. Oh, we've got desalinization. No, desalinization 10 times as costly. We can make our drinking water, we can make our bathing water, but you can't base a competitive industry or healthy agriculture on desalinization. Florida would become a dry Caribbean island economy. Unless we seriously consider instituting universal charges, almost everything that we're going to be discussing here will be in vain. We may as well just stop right now, go out, jump in the springs, and enjoy the springs for as long as they last, okay? On the other hand, if we succeed in implementing water fees, they will provide a vibrant incentive, okay, for adopting the other methods that we're discussing. In my opinion, the issue couldn't be more urgent, nor the remedy more obvious. Thank you.